Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy, co-founder of the Chef's Table Foundation. We're dedicated to producing high-quality shows for community access stations, but our bigger mission is to support homeless U.S. veterans and homeless young adults with a culinary school education. And we're very, very grateful to the town of Medfield's cable TV, as well as their board of directors, and I'm very pleased to say we have a terrific home chef, Aditi Tate, and she is the executive director of Medfield TV.
So we've been cooking with a lot of spices.
Right.
Today I'm cooking without a lot of spices. Can you believe it?
Yeah,
So
not
just
really.
this show,
Yeah.
not, it's unusual,
Yeah.
but it's herbs, and we have a lot of onions, coconut.
Great.
So instead of the spices, we are adding different things to still make it tasty. It's simple.
Okay.
And it's delicious. So,
Right. And what is the name of this dish?
So we are going to make a rice dish, which is caramelized onion pilaf.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's really caramelizing onions and then adding cooked rice to it. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
But wait till you taste it.
Right, and I always try to talk about the term mise en place, which is a French term meaning everything in its place. So every good cook, and particularly in a professional kitchen, everybody is set and ready to go. So I noticed, even though you're not using a lot of spices, you do have onion, sliced
Yeah.
onion, chopped onion.
Yeah, these are for two different dishes. So for
Okay.
the caramelized onions,
Yeah.
it's simple. It's just sliced onions, really fine,
Okay.
thinly sliced onions. If you
Right.
can see how fine they are.
Yeah.
And what I do is I kind of crush it up a little bit, squeeze it, just to make them kind of, they're not sitting together, just
Right.
a little bit, but they're
Yeah.
really fine this way. They
Okay.
cook faster, and then
Yeah.
it's just delicious
And
that way.
Chef Aditi just gave you a tip on, you don't have to mash them, but give them a crush,
Right.
and
And you
it
just
loosens
release-
the,
yeah, like that.
and you find it cooks quicker.
Yes.
Okay,
And
great.
so it's simple, cooked rice and then
Yeah.
salt. That's it. No other spices on that.
Okay,
And then the second dish we're making is
Yeah.
a spinach dish. This is
Yeah.
10 ounces of fresh chopped spinach.
okay,
And again, a large onion, even
Yeah.
though that looks like a lot, but it was a big onion,
Yeah.
believe me.
yeah.
And it's got garlic
Yeah.
and jalapeno and coconut.
Oh,
This
wow.
is unsweetened coconut. You don't want to put the sweet coconut
Sweet,
because
right,
that makes it all
right.
like a dessert, and you don't want that.
Okay.
And then my favorite media of cooking is ghee, as you know.
Ghee,
and
yeah.
this one, I went a little bit more because up till now I've been using like a lighter color
A
one.
lighter color.
But this one is, it was done, I left it on for about 5 minutes longer.
Right.
So it's got the nutty aroma. So if you can smell
Yeah.
that, it's deeper,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So
That's similar to the term, a little nuttier with the roux, which is the flour and butter. The longer you cook it, the darker it will get.
Right.
And, depending on what the dish is, you want that nuttier flavor that you get with the darker or the longer cooking.
yeah, you just want to be careful. You want to do this on low heat because it burns. It
Burns.
goes from this to burn really quick. So you want to
Quickly.
watch
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
And when
great.
it's cooking, it does look really dark on the outside, but don't be scared, or
Right.
you can still use
Right,
it
yeah.
because it's stained.
Oh.
You take out the milk solids, and we talked about this in the
Right,
first show.
right.
So,
So
let
now,
me get
I love
started.
your spice bowl, but
I'm not using it
You're
today,
not, it's
no.
just for display?
Right, right.
Okay, great.
Next week we'll use it.
Excellent.
So let me start with the rice because it takes
Yeah.
a little longer to cook
Sure.
the onions. So 2 tablespoons of
Ghee,
ghee.
which is
Put it on.
clarified butter, but the term in India is ghee.
Ghee, it's clarified butter, yeah, or
Right.
brown butter.
Right. And preferably unsalted butter.
Yes.
In cooking, you never use a salted butter. So
Yes,
at least I
absolutely.
always recommend that to the home cook.
All right. This is taking a little longer today, but so it's getting there.
Yeah, that.
So we'll
no-
get this started,
Right.
and then we'll talk about the spinach dish. Because we are on TV, we
Right.
always have to be
Yeah. Now,
mindful of the time.
caramelization from onions comes from cooking, you know, the sugars, and if you do it over a period of time, you'll get a nice golden color. But they're very sweet tasting, and it's that additional flavor and texture, so it really adds to a dish. Now, when you caramelize these, do you go to a golden or light golden?
A deep golden.
Deep golden,
So,
okay.
so if you cook at home, you want to do it on fairly like medium heat.
Right.
And then once they start turning golden, you want to turn the heat down. You don't want to burn
Okay.
them, but
Yeah.
if it gets crisp and golden brown, better. Evenly crisp and golden brown, even better.
Right.
So you have to constantly watch and stir it.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we'll try to get there. If you
Right.
don't, I have a finished product to show at the
Fine.
end.
Excellent.
So while that's cooking, let's start the spinach dish.
Okay.
So for the spinach, it's 1 tablespoon of ghee. Yeah, this
Yeah.
one is working
Okay.
better. And the large onion that's diced,
Yeah.
a fine dice,
Okay.
goes in. So this one, you just want to get the onion to be translucent.
Right.
And then you add the jalapeno and the garlic, which is about, I have about 2 cloves of garlic in here, finely minced.
Wow.
And if you like
okay.
garlic, you can go a little bit more, but
Yeah.
you don't want to make it too garlicky
No.
because spinach cooks down and you just want to
Right.
make sure that
You
you're not
know, I
overdoing.
always recommend, you know, a lot of times people will use so much garlic it becomes the dish.
That's true, I agree with you.
And I don't think it's a great addition. It is an ingredient, but try not to make it the whole dish because that flavor can be overwhelming.
Okay, so again, you want to go a little bit more, about 2 to 3 minutes, and then you do the jalapenos.
Ooh,
And if you like, again, you know, these are with seeds removed and the
right.
veins
Yeah,
removed.
because your
minced.
heat comes from the
Yeah.
seeds.
And you really want to make them fine because when you're putting green with green, sometimes you don't want to bite into it.
Oh, I see,
So
right.
just try to do
Good.
it really small.
Yeah, and Chef just gave you a great tip on making that a very fine dice so that you're not crunching in and needing a fire extinguisher, but in any event. Now, this goes with, do you use any kind of flavoring along with the onion, and is it the
Just like the coconut once when we
oh,
put it
wow.
in, yeah.
Yeah,
So another little tip is when you're cooking onions, if you put a little bit of salt,
Yeah.
it cooks faster.
right. It draws the moisture out. If you're dry curing, you'll put a lot of salt on a piece of meat, same principle. You
Yeah.
want to get that extra moisture out.
Right. So I think we'll just do this. It doesn't look like this is working right now, so
Right,
I'm going to switch
okay.
that once I
Yeah.
put the spinach in. I'm not going to cook all of
Okay.
the spinach
Right.
in the interest of time. And this is just 10 ounces of spinach.
Wow. Yeah. It
And
looks like
serves
a
about-
lot, but once that
Yeah.
cooks down,
And I don't think I'll put all of it in there because I need a bigger pan.
yeah.
And you just want to cook that down a little bit. And then,
What I generally do is I'll let that cook down, then I'll add more in if I feel I need it. But
okay. So when I'm doing this, it's not going to cook a whole lot. So
Yeah.
I try to do it all at the same time so
Right.
that, you know, you don't have
Sure.
spinach that's
sure.
well cooked and then some
Right.
that's not. So
Right.
try to do it, you know, again, try to do it in a big pan. I didn't
Yeah.
expect this to be 10 ounces like that much.
Yeah.
But
But it
then-
always looks like a lot more.
yes. And
I
then
like to mention your salt. I love that salt.
that's the
And
pink salt that we're doing, the Himalayan.
Yeah, that's the Himalayan salt. And it is a little more expensive, but I feel it's well worth it for the flavor. And when you're using, in cooking, I really strongly recommend a larger crystal salt, such as a sea salt, a kosher salt. It's easy to control, you know, as far as adding it. And also, I think the flavor profile. And you do save on the sodium because you're not using as much
Right.
with the larger crystals. So,
Yeah. See how fast that cooked
Yeah.
down? It really doesn't take long at all. So about 2 tablespoons of coconut. You can do a little bit more if you like it. So this is not a very hard and fast rule.
Right.
But again, you don't want to taste just the coconut, you want to taste the
Right.
spinach. So that's about 2 tablespoons there. And it looks a little bit more because I didn't use all of my spinach in here.
Yeah. I'd like to ask a question because if you were serving this at home, this wouldn't be your main dish because there protein.
No, this is a side dish, so you definitely
Right.
want to get something else like the bean dish that we made.
Yeah, right.
Or something else, that's
Yeah.
protein, like tofu or
Right.
any of that. But this is definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's
Now-
almost done here.
All right, is this a traditional recipe or did you change it,
I've
create?
changed it to make it much more simpler.
Right, okay.
This is something that when I
Yeah.
get home,
Yeah.
and you can also do this with frozen spinach. I prefer the fresh if you have,
Sure.
but you can definitely pull out
Yeah.
a 10-ounce
Right.
chopped spinach, defrost it, and use it.
Yeah, the reason I asked if you would change it, because I always encourage the home chef to experiment a little bit, and start creating your own dishes. So one of the focuses on this show, and I was remiss at not mentioning, McCormick Spice is supporting this work, and we're very grateful to them. So, but learning to use spices and herbs and create your own dishes is really, it makes the experience, it's an artistic form, and
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
think, sometimes simple ingredients, you don't think of
Right.
putting spinach and coconut together. We were talking
Right.
earlier
Right.
to the audience. And
Well,
so
I've
this is
always
something-
said, Italian food, great ingredients, simple. So now I'm going to add Indian
Indian
food
to it, yeah.
that. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think when you eat at the restaurants, the
Right.
food is much more complex and they use a lot because that's what people know. And
Right.
this is just basic, really peasant food, if you will.
Yeah.
Simple, it's
Right.
done every day at home.
Yeah.
The restaurants don't serve that just because they like the
Yeah.
heavier
Right.
sauces and creams with
Yeah.
tomato.
Well, I get a kick out of, and you said this, it was, home type food. And, you go into a restaurant today, and I always think about the Italian cuisine, the pasta fagioli, and it was a beans and pasta. It was a simple dish at home. But now you go into a restaurant, you're paying a lot of money for what people grew up on, so which is great.
Okay, I'm not sure if this burner's working again. I'll try one more
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
If not, we have the finished dishes, Joe. We
Sure,
can talk about
that's
it.
fine.
So basically, we can just pretend that this is caramelized, even though it's not. And then what you do is, I'm not going to add the rice because I do want to cook it down. So you put the rice in there. This is cooked basmati rice. So it's not salted. So you would
Yeah.
put salt in there. And again, for cooking the onions, you do a little bit of salt so that
Yeah.
it caramelizes and cooks
Sure.
well.
Sure.
So, would you like me to bring out the finished product? I'm just
Yeah.
going to turn this off because
Yeah,
it's beeping. Joe.
it's, I don't understand why that's happened, but at least you're getting the demonstration of,
Right. So,
the best way to do this.
so I think this is what the caramelized onions really turn out to be when you finish it. And so you just mix it up, and then I'll have you taste it at the end, so you
Right.
can determine for yourself. So after that was cooked, it kind of comes out like that, and you garnish it with some coconut on top. You
Right.
can also use fresh coconut if you'd like, but it's a lot of work to be breaking a coconut, scraping it.
Right.
If you happen to go to the Indian store, you can get a really good fresh frozen coconut, and typically I buy that. I do use a lot of the dry because this has a good shelf life. The other one has to be in the freezer, and once you pull it out, you can use it. You can put it in the fridge and use it.
Yeah, that's a great
So,
tip
yeah.
you're giving people. One thing, on this rice dish with the caramelized onions, if you threw some nice mushrooms in there and got them a little, no? Well,
So I think sometimes fusion works for me, but simplistic, like this is such basic peasant food.
Right.
So I wouldn't touch it. I mean, you could do the mushrooms and leave
Right.
it on the side, and probably use.
I think I'd put mushrooms in.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe a little red pepper, roasted red pepper.
You could
different
do,
things, yeah.
but then keep it on the side because
Right.
some things you want to use it just as the way
Okay.
they are.
All right, great.
Okay, so would you like to taste it, Joe?
You sure would. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make you probably. So we didn't have time to do this before.
Yeah, and you know, simple ingredients, but with that nutty ghee, that's going to add to the flavor as well.
I'll do that.
Very good.
Is it good?
Yeah, delicious.
Just two ingredients in there. If you count salt, it's 3.
Right.
And here's the spinach.
Thank you.
And again, since we have a little bit more
Delicious.
time,
Yeah.
my spinach story is when I was growing up, this lady would bring on a basket just fresh picked spinach with the roots. So when she brought it to our house, it used to be really warm. And that's the sort of food that I grew up on, you know, farm to table. So summer, I'm really happy anytime I can get to go pick some
Yeah.
vegetables like that, bring it home. I don't even refrigerate it if I can help it, just cook it right away. You should try that. It's just amazing. And you know, if you
Yeah.
just have it outside without refrigerating, even if it's 2 or 3 hours without refrigerating, you cook it, it still is fresh.
Fresh, yeah.
And
I'd like to make a comment about your spinach. As I was eating it, I said, ooh, it's delicious. But 15 seconds later, that nice coconut flavor, it would almost like snuck up on my palate.
and a little bit of heat probably too.
Oh, well, I didn't get that,
You didn't get
thank
that?
God.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Well, it's just a touch. You probably
Yeah.
didn't even feel it.
right.
So,
I like a touch, but not a lot.
okay. Yeah, I made sure to cut the seeds and the veins. When I cook, I put all of it because I like hot food.
You do.
I like spicy food, yeah.
It's absolutely delicious. And everything you've done has been great, so we really appreciate it. You've done a great job. And we would like to thank again Medfield TV, the board of directors, and their wonderful executive director who has and this is one of the things that encouraged me about calling you. She's so engaging with that smile. So we're really
Thanks, Joe.
thrilled to be here, and we do want to thank McCormick Spice for supporting this show. So again, remember your veterans and the homeless young adults that are out there with no place to live. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, welcome back. Wanted to talk about the nutrition benefits of spinach, since this was our main dish this evening. So spinach is one of those vegetables that has so much vitamins, and it probably packs one of the biggest nutrient punch than any other vegetable that I can think of. So to start off with, in terms of calories, it has only 25 calories for a cup, and that would be a cup raw. But it also has over 1,000% of your RDA. Your RDA, by the way, is the recommended daily allowance, and it has over 1,000% of your daily needs for vitamin K. Now, why do we need vitamin K? Vitamin K is actually really important for blood clotting, otherwise we'll bleed to death. So it's really important that we get a daily intake of vitamin K. The second thing is for spinach is it's loaded, and I mean loaded with vitamin A. Spinach has as much beta carotene as carrots. And if it wasn't for the chlorophyll that we find in spinach that's responsible for its green color, we would actually be eating orange spinach. So it's terrific for vision. The other thing about spinach that's amazing is it's loaded with iron, which is why Popeye always had his iron, to make sure that he got that power on the cartoon. And folate. A lot of physicians will tell pregnant women to have enough folate in their diet, which is part of the B vitamin family, and we need folate in particular to prevent folate deficiency anemia. And it also, if people do not have enough folate in their diet, they might find they're a little cranky or a little bit tired. And it doesn't always show up on blood work. So make sure you have different types of greens, including spinach, to make sure you have enough folate. Lastly, and this is really interesting, spinach has more potassium than your average size banana. Who knew? And also, this has nothing to do with spinach, but I thought I'd throw that in here, is that 1 cup of skim milk has more potassium than the spinach and the banana. So sometimes we think of one food with one nutrient, but you know, there's a lot of different nutrients in a lot of different foods. So the thing I do want to talk about with spinach is there's a lot of diets that are very trendy right now, especially on the New York Times bestseller list. And I see the raw food diet, the raw vegan diet, only eat raw diet, and now there's a slew of restaurants. I just literally got back from California, and on every street corner there was a restaurant having raw foods. Now, there's nothing wrong with raw foods, but when it comes to raw spinach, you will not absorb enough vitamins as if you had it cooked. And you might be saying, wait a minute, you're telling me that having cooked is better than raw? Most of the time, and this is a nutrition science fact, having steamed or slightly sauteed, in other words, something that's not boiled to death, vegetables is actually healthier than having raw, and I'll tell you why. Because when you eat something that's slightly cooked, what you're doing is you're breaking down the cell wall of that cell membrane of the vegetable, and therefore the nutrients of that plant, such as spinach, gets into the human body quickly, more directly, and you can often triple the absorption. When you cook a carrot, you triple the absorption than having it raw, and the same thing with spinach. Lastly, do not depend on spinach for your calcium because it gets blocked by something called oxalate, so never depend on spinach for your greens. So, more nutrition tips. This is Joanne Keaveney for the Chef's Table series, and thanks for watching.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's fitness tip. My name is Carol O'Connor. I'm a certified fitness instructor and personal trainer. I teach a number of different classes I have over the last 20 years. I teach bar, which I love. I teach mat Pilates, kickbox, and I teach a lot of muscle conditioning classes. But the most important move that I feel everyone should develop as well as incorporate into their fitness routine is balance. You need balance, everyone, whether you're 20 or 80, because as you get older, your balance starts to a little bit deteriorate. And these are some moves that you can practice at home or at the gym. So for balance, you just want to make sure that you roll the shoulders back and you're standing up nice and tall, lifting up from deep below your pelvic floor muscles, tightening through your core. Then from here, keeping your shoulders back, you're going to lift one foot off the floor. Now let's just say, Carol, there's no way I can do this move. You could always put your back against a wall. But just think about balancing, keeping your abs in, but staying still through your upper body, okay? Now another balancing move you can do is you could take your foot forward and then you can just take it a little bit off the floor, just a little bit. But just remember, we're building a strong posture, keeping our abs in and shoulders down as we lift. And then another one, if you want to progress it, is you could take your foot out. If you need balance, extend the arms, and you can do gentle toe taps, but using your ab strength to lift your leg up, as well as staying strong through your abs and your back to help with your balance. Now, sometimes people say, I just don't have time to balance. I sit all day, I work at a computer. But think about what you do at home. You brush your teeth, right? You might have to wash a couple of pots or pans. So when you're doing those moves, what's functional is just lift your leg up. You can always brush your teeth, okay? Say you're standing in line, notice your posture. You're like leaning to one side. Try to straighten yourself up. And maybe if no one's looking, or who cares if they're looking, and you're looking at a magazine on your iPhone, just lift one foot off the floor. And you're gonna engage your abdominals as well as work on your balance. So everyone, that was today's fitness tip on balance. We'll see you next time.